wonderful, wonderful seeds of Silvertree. Thank you so much for sharing this space and for clicking on my video and to hear today's message about recognizing the wounds of the inner child. The last video I discussed on how to recognize the inner child, okay, as an aspect of your consciousness that we often are trained to subdue, to ignore, to suppress. And I heavily spoke on the calcified heart. The heart space, the heart center is where the child loves it. It exists. There's certain aspects of our consciousness, okay, high and low, that exist within our human form and our energy field. And with the heart space, that's where he or she or they like to exist, and that's their home. So in this video, I'm going to cover wounds of the inner child and how to recognize them. Last week we spoke on, last week we spoke on betrayal. Let's see, I'm so sorry. Betrayal, guilt, shame, blame, and there's one other one. These are hearts or wounds of the heart that we undergo in and out of life, throughout life, as a human being, as part of the experience here, in order for us to recognize the opposite of those things and to experience the opposite of shame, blame, guilt, betrayal, and so on and so forth. Well, as we connect with the inner child has a voice. Okay, I gave you a couple exercises in the last video on how to, kind of knock on the door, okay, of the heart, how to connect through that way of connecting to your inner child. The wounds of the inner child, they run deep, okay, and most of the unhealed wounds that we have as human beings, as humans, they reside in the world of the inner child, and they're most often triggered. All that remains unhealed, okay, we re-experience these wounds through external triggerings, whether through our romantic relationships, through family visits, okay, or family reunions, through our employees or employers, co-workers that we work with, to a stranger in the street, or the stranger we, interact with through customer service. We're constantly being reminded to look at our own reflection. And by far, the pain of the inner child, the pain that this essence that we have within ourselves bears is quite, it can be quite dark and quite heavy for most of us, for all of us. And one thing I must point out when we're reviewing the wounds of the inner child and how to connect with it is that no wound is less than the other, okay? A lot of the time, through victim mentality, we as people tend to compare and contrast our traumas with other traumas to see if our trauma is valid or invalid. I personally have experienced this with someone once upon a time that I considered a really good friend at the time, and she would compare and contrast a lot of our traumas, almost to the point where it was almost like she didn't believe me, right? And that can be incredibly painful as adults when we create the space, and the time to reevaluate, to just reassess the stories and experiences that took place in the past that play a role in our current story, in our current narrative. And you're not in a very supportive space. You're not receiving the support that you may feel that you need. And that can also calcify that heart space. It can also just kind of shut the whole process down. Like, if this person doesn't believe me, if that person doesn't believe me, then maybe I shouldn't believe myself. Maybe my feelings aren't valid. And the number one step of connecting to the wounds of the inner child is to create the space for yourself, your you, the little you, okay, to speak and to be heard, and to know, to create this space for yourself to feel at ease and know that you are valid, that your feelings are valid. A lot of what I hear in the New Age community is this victim mentality. Don't have a victim mentality. Don't have a victim mentality. Yes, it's very true. Because another tricky spot when you're doing inner child work, you know, you can get trapped in a loophole of needing to heal this wound that will never heal. Right? You get in this perpetual need to heal over and over and over, to revisit narratives and storylines of your human experience over and over and over. Oh, okay, well, I healed this, now what next? What do I need to heal next? No. The most important thing is to just listen to your inner voice. We have many voices. I know this may sound a bit absurd or crazy, but we have many voices within our consciousness, okay? Now, disclaimer, I used to work in mental health. If these voices are telling you to do harmful things to yourself or to anyone else, please, please, please seek professional help, okay? That's so important. I can't say that enough. I am not a licensed counselor or therapist, okay? However, I'm just a human being expressing my personal experience to help someone else out there. But please, if you're hearing voices to tell you to do anything to yourself or to other people to cause harm, or it's causing you distress, or you can't live your normal way to day-to-day living, please seek professional help. But back on track, we have voices within ourselves, okay? We have voice of the mind, which we're all very familiar with, call it ego, okay? We have voices of the womb of women speaks to us, the voice of the heart, the voices of the body, you know, it's a language, okay? And your inner child has a language. Just like the womb has a language, just as like the ego has a language, the soul has a language. Everything is always speaking, okay? And getting back on track with the wound, it's so important to just listen. Just listen. And the best exercise I can ever share with you is to journal, okay? Connect with the inner child through journaling, all right? Journaling by far, and this is kind of a tricky task. I would like you to do this exercise where you ask a simple question. What, introduce yourself. Write a letter. Better yet, before you even get into the journaling part, write a letter to your inner child. Okay? Get your picture out. Set this up. Set your altar. Get a picture of yourself. Your favorite things growing up as a child. Revisit your childhood, right? If you still have your stuffed animals, pull one of them out and set them up on that altar, in that space, that sacred space. And really tune into your childlike nature, things you used to love to create when you were a child, crayons, pictures, little cute little things that you used to collect. Bring that out if you have access to it. And if you don't, then just take a waltz down memory lane and just collect these things that you used to be so into when you were a child. And just these activities and actions alone will start to open up that channel so that you can start hearing and connecting to her or him, okay? Or they. So, with the letter, you take your left hand. Well, with your right hand first, you want to ask a question. Introduce yourself. Hi, my name is, and you can say, I'm so sorry. You can apologize. Ask for forgiveness. Please forgive me for ignoring you for so long. I desire to have a connection and to build a relationship where you feel that you can trust and have faith in me. Okay? You are talking to an aspect of yourself that's been neglected for a long, long time, okay? And on this path of connecting to your inner child, you begin to learn how to mother and father your spirit, your spiritual self. That your mother, both your parents have done everything they could. And if you feel like they haven't done enough, okay, we'll visit that. We'll most certainly visit that. But as an adult, as a full-grown adult, there are things with our inner child that there are holes. There are many holes and gaps. And some of us, we have valleys where it's just, something wasn't filled in that should have been filled in, that should have been nurtured and nourished. So in this letter that you write to yourself, to you, this neglected part, show kindness in this letter of forgiveness. Show that you're willing to listen, that you won't judge them, okay? Just imagine if you have a child, if you have children, speaking to your child. Let's just say one day you completely neglected them, and because you're caught up in other life obligations. You missed their basketball game. You forgot about their project, or you forgot about a concert, and they feel really saddened about it. And so you have a sit down with them, and you talk to them, and not in a condescending way, but in a very soothing and loving way, okay? Do that with yourself. Take that experience with yourself. Speak to yourself like you would to a child, okay? And write write a simple one sentence question, okay? Just keep it very simple. What are you happy about? Okay? Now, whatever may come up will come up, okay? But I want you to take your left hand, and I want you to try to write. And there's a reason, there's a psychological reason for this, because you're accessing your subconscious mind, okay? You take your left hand and allow whatever to flow. And if it's just scribbles and dibbles and you barely can read it, that's okay. This exercise takes a lot of practice, okay? It takes about 3 to 4 months for you to get it really, where it's legible, but this is patience, okay? And you just write it out, let it flow, okay? And then you close the book, or you turn the piece of paper, your letter over, and you let it sit, all right? And then the next day, or if you feel up to it, you can write, what are you most sad about? Ask, what are you most sad about? And whatever flows, flows. And let it, please use the left hand. The left hand is subconscious, okay? It's connected to the subconscious mind. The right hand is very external, right? It's very quick. When we do it, it's very superficial. It's very like, if you're writing, if you do this exercise with your right hand, a lot of it's going to be very egoic, okay? Do it with your left. This is the sleeping, it seems like it's the left hand seems like it's completely, disconnected, if you will, but it's not. The subconscious is never disconnected. It is the most connected part of ourselves. So with this exercise, you're tuning in and tapping into your inner child and hearing her voice for the first time. And I'll have to say, I no longer have the journal, but I kept a journal for my inner child, and there are some entries where she was incredibly upset and very sad, especially dealing with my relationship with my mother, feeling lonely at times, telling me things that she loves to do, like artwork, and she loves color, and she likes to fly, all these beautiful things that we've forgotten about, we've been trained to forget, we've been belittled, There are moments when I was a child and I love to imagine myself flying in the air, I jump off everything. And I love it. you know, and then it got to the point where you were told, and I was told, well, you can't fly. You can never fly, you know, and for obvious reasons, right? In this reality, you have to keep your body safe. Your parents want you to live as long as possible. And, but, you know, when you create this space, you know, you don't have to go all out and get the high-end candles and the, you know, the most expensive crystals and all that. You know what? In all honesty, do what you want to do. If that makes you and puts you in a, brings you into a space where you can open up and widen that channel, go for it. But this really, the less spiritual tools that you have doing this exercise, okay, the better, because you're really focusing in on the energy. You're not so much focused on what this crystal can do, what this candle can do, what this incense will do, what this herb will do. Those are all beautiful and useful things, and they all have their voice, and they all play a role. But I really, primarily with this forgiveness series and this forgiveness exercise, just really focus on the feeling, because feeling comes first, okay? When it comes to working with energy manipulation, Eka, magic, you don't, all the spiritual materialistic hoopla means nothing if you don't feel it, if you don't feel it inside, if you don't feel it within you and around you. And so when you're doing these exercises, really just make sure you have, for the first time, because now I can think, I can have the visual of what my inner child, so I don't necessarily have to have her photo everywhere, but, or mine, per se. But it's not hard for me to connect with her, because I've made that connection with her through having the photo, you know, just in my view. When you have it in your vicinity, your subconscious mind takes that in, that, oh, okay, inner child. Every time you walk into the bedroom or next to your altar, your sacred space, like, oh, inner child. The subconscious is a sponge, right? It collects and it intakes all of our experience or experiences. So again, I'm not going to make this video too long, but when it comes to the wounds, okay, you have to be just open, okay? You have to be patient. Don't try to dictate, you know, the inner child, whatever comes through the writing exercise. If she or he's upset about something, I'm so upset my father left, or I'm so sad my mom disowned me. Okay, that all of that is valid. Every feeling that a human being can ever feel is valid. Whenever I'm working with a child and they are really emotionally bothered or anxious about something, I'll say more, if anything, angry. Like, let's say they're upset that I told them, hey, you need to go to timeout, right? And they're upset. I tell them, you have every right to feel how you're feeling. When you tell someone you have no right to feel this way, that is, to a child, that's very, very, very damaging. It's incredibly damaging, because you're telling this human being, okay, this young human being, that they don't have a right to express their feelings. And we all know what happens to people as they evolve and mature on their path in this life, when they don't have the space to express themselves, and when they don't have the space to say, to feel what's real for them at that moment. Okay, children are the most honest creatures when it comes to their feelings. You know, I've worked with my youngest was 2, okay, 2-year-old little guy, and what I've known from toddlers and from my relationship with him that was so incredible is that he was so honest about his feelings. He didn't try to hide how enraged he feel about someone taking his binky away or taking a snack or something. He would be really upset. Or He didn't hide when he felt really sad, like really sad when mommy had to go. He would cry and just be really, he would do this really cute thing where, I mean, not cute to him, but he just lay out on the floor and just look off to the side. No tears, just really sad. She's gone, but he was so real and raw. And up to my 4th graders that I taught, they're so in tune with themselves and their feelings. And here's the thing, we belittle children because, they know nothing of how to survive in the real world, and it's up to us as adults to teach them. But I kid you not, they may not have the vocabulary. They may not have the reasoning skills, but children have their own set and ways of interpreting life and emotions and feelings. Okay? They have their own intellect. That's why children are one of the greatest teachers in the world. When people say, I want to have kids, I'm like, get ready to learn. Get ready to learn about yourself, because children will reflect every unhealed wound in your body, in your life. And I find that with parenting, when a child triggers a parent, okay, I mean, really triggers, like parents get in their feelings, and it's not even like the child's out being, they don't know the difference between respect or disrespect. We have to teach them that, but take that as a lesson. It's a lesson. It's a powerful lesson to look within yourself and look at the child within yourself. So that's all I'm going to say at this moment. Please take these, couple of exercises and have that picture up with yourself, a visual of the little you, okay, the inner child right here, and let me know if this is helpful to you. And yeah, it's very powerful. This is a big one when it comes to forgiving and forgiving other people, forgiving yourself. This is a big one when forgiving yourself, because we abandon ourselves. That's what we do. That's an inner child, right? We abandon ourselves. We abandon our inner child. We abandon our wants, our desires, our needs. We become detached. And so with this work, when you're dealing with the self first, then you're able to, and embracing all of you, okay, every aspect of yourself, then you can start to expand and really see you and others. So thank you so much for listening. Please visit www.silvertreesounds.com if you would like a personal rune reading for free, donation based. Okay, and with all the love, thank you so much.